For a long time, a Range Rover was a Range Rover was a Range Rover. There was only one, and it was the most prestigious car Land Rover built. But times change. It was in 2005 that Land Rover gave us the first Range Rover derivative, that was the Sport. In 2011, it delivered the Evoque, that's still the entry-level model. And then in 2017, it gave us this Velar. Having once been a single model, Range Rover is now an entire family. It slots in between the Evoque and the Sport, both in terms of size and price. Beneath its very handsome bodywork, you'll find the same platform that underpins the sporty Jaguar F-Pace SUV. Being a Range Rover, the Velar is less about sporty dynamics and more about day-to-day luxury, style, and to some extent off-road ability. The Velar can be a little bit spec dependent on smaller wheels and in certain colours. To my eye, it looks just a little bit awkward, and there's something not quite right about the rear for me as well. But in the right colour and on the bigger wheels, I think it looks fantastic, and that is going to be a huge part of the appeal for a lot of buyers. For now, diesel Velars still outsell petrols. This is a mid-range D240 HSE, which starts at a shade under £63,000. It's powered by a 2-litre twin-turbo diesel, which develops 237 brake horsepower and 369 pound-foot of torque. All Velars are four-wheel drive, and this one will get to 62 miles per hour in 7.3 seconds and top out at 135 miles per hour. Land Rover says you'll get 48.7 miles per gallon combined. HSE means this is a high-spec Velar, so the range starts with the plain old vanilla Velar, and then you basically add letters the further up the range you go. So it's Velar, Velar S, Velar SE, and then Velar HSE. This particular car in HSE spec gets matrix LED headlights, 21-inch wheels, and a 17-speaker Meridian hi-fi. On top of S, SE, and HSE, the Velar can also be specified in R dynamic trim. Think flashier body styling and more premium cabin details. This particular car makes do without. Now, the quality of the cabin is mostly very good, and the design is fantastic. It's a bit of a show-stopping interior, this actually. There are a couple of bits that I'm not so keen on. The release latch for these armrests is very cheap, very plasticky. I don't like that. And these rotary knobs, their action just isn't quite positive enough. But there are several really good delight features in this cabin. We've got this additional and huge central screen down here in addition to the typical navigation screen, and then these buttons on the steering wheel that change their display for different functionality. They're great. The upholstery is interesting. It's not leather, it's a wool blend, a kind of woven fabric, which is quite interesting. It's not as opulent as hide. It's a £620 option, but of course, no cows were harmed in the making of it. Being a HSE, this car comes very well equipped. On top of the heated windscreen, dual zone climate control, phone connectivity and cruise control that are all standard fit on lesser models, the HSE also gets 20-way electrically adjustable seats with heating, cooling and massage functions, plus a rear parking camera. This particular car is loaded with driver assistance systems. I can see them here. I've got collision avoidance, lane keep assist, speed limit awareness and driver condition monitor. Rear seat space is good, and boot space is decent as well with 558 litres. Being quite a lot smaller than a full-scale Range Rover, this Velar is much easier to manoeuvre in town. It still feels like quite a big, bulky machine, but it's not intimidating, and from up here you get a great view of the road ahead as well. The ride quality is pretty good. It's not spectacular. I'd like to try a Velar on the optional air suspension and perhaps on smaller wheels as well, because I think you'd be able to improve the ride quality quite markedly with those things. On the motorway, you do get some fairly pronounced wind and road noise, so it's not a super quiet, super refined kind of car. As much as anything else, a Range Rover should be luxurious to drive. The Velar is good in that sense without being remarkable. On these more open, winding roads, it's worth putting the car into its dynamic mode, because that just helps it to keep its composure when the road starts twisting and turning. So this Velar, it doesn't lean too much. There clearly is body roll, but it doesn't lean really heavily. The steering is mostly really good. It's accurate, it's natural in its rate of response, it's well weighted, and crucially, it really helps you position the car with confidence. So by and large, the way this Velar handles on an open road like this one, even though it's no performance car, is actually really impressive. Being a Land Rover, the Velar does have good off-road ability as well as plenty of off-road driver assistance systems like hill descent control. It comes as standard with all-season tyres, which keeps you moving along muddy lanes and gravel tracks. If you want to do serious off-roading, you'll have to upgrade the tyres. Now, what of the drivetrain? So as I've said, the engine is a twin turbocharged 4-cylinder diesel, and it's just about muscular enough to make this car feel brisk and to stop it from feeling lethargic and heavy. I think if the engine had much less power and torque, the car would be a little bit frustrating in that respect, but as it is, it's okay. Refinement, however, is a little bit of an issue. You do need to work the engine fairly hard to get the car rolling from standstill, and that's when you hear the thrashy diesel soundtrack, which isn't a particularly premium, luxurious sound. The gearbox, meanwhile, is mostly very good. There are times where it can feel just a little bit jerky, a little bit lurchy, perhaps when you're pulling away, but generally the gear shifts are very smooth. It has got a manual mode and a sport mode using these paddles here. You can change gear yourself, but I think once you've done that a couple of times just to see what that's all about, you won't bother again. Really, you just leave the gearbox to get on with it itself. The basis of a very good luxury car is the platform that it sits on. It determines how well a car rides, how spacious it is, how quiet and refined that car is. This car's platform, the one that it shares with the Jaguar F-Pace, is right at the limit of its capabilities as the basis for a £60,000 luxury car. It means this Velar is a very handsome machine, it's a very broadly capable machine as well. But if you're expecting a supreme luxury device, you'll do well to upgrade to a full-size Range Rover or the Range Rover Sport. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Hit the thumbs up button, comment below, and remember as well to head to cargurus.co.uk because that's where you'll find the used car you're looking for from a top-rated dealer.